The Jets, I don't want to say it was disappointing because I think it's really what everyone expected. No one was thinking that they would go into Arrowhead and compete with the Chiefs. This just in, they did not. Patrick Mahomes, 5 touchdown passes and a 35-9 drubbing over the Jets. Mahomes, again, the 5 touchdown passes. The Jets have 4 passing touchdowns all year. And in the end, it wasn't any bit a surprise, and the Jets are still staring at 0-16.
No surprise. And yes, 0-16, looking more and more likely every day, which, that'll always shock me. That's a possibility after they won 7 games last year. So you're not talking about a regression of a couple of games. And after you win 7 games, by the way, you look to break through and win 9 the next year, 8 the next year. Maybe, a bad year would be to lose. It would be to win 6 and have and take a step back. But this is a step back like no other. Funny enough, the highest paid Jet on the field was Le'Veon Bell on the other team, which maybe says everything you need to know about how pitiful it's become. And I really have run out of adjectives for it, Nick. I really have.
Yeah, there's really not much to say, and it was interesting to me to just get a chance to watch a little bit of that game, peeking in and out, and they were sort of competitive out of the gate, but then things went downhill quickly, and I loved that stat that I read off just a moment ago about the 5 touchdown passes for Mahomes and the 4 touchdown passes for the Jets all season, with the quarterbacks Darnold, Flacco in there for a couple of games. And that, I think, sums up their season about as well as any number, thought, or statistic could, because they have just really struggled, to say the least. 0-16 certainly on the table. I feel like they do have a chance this weekend. New England has not been playing well. Cam Newton has been struggling. If there was ever a time for them to steal a win, could it be this week?
Yeah, well, for whatever reason, I think it could be. And by the way, as much as 0-16 looks realistic, and it is, I don't know that that'll happen. It's just such a mind-boggling accomplishment almost to lose 16 games that you almost have to try to do it. Because in the game of football, every once in a while, you walk into a stadium where the other team just isn't ready. It happens. It happens to even good teams. Are the Patriots a good team? I don't even think they are. So with that being said, maybe this is the week. There's always a little bit of intrigue with that matchup, and maybe just a little bit of Jet magic. I'm not sure why I would believe that, because, of course, the record would show that the Patriots have the edge there. But the Jets have a couple of funny wins against this team, a couple of big wins against this team. So maybe this Sunday is one of those funny, weird ones where a terrible Jets team beats a Patriots team that isn't very good. That's just the bottom line. These two teams may end up as at the bottom half of this division.
The funny thing is, in talking about the Jets and the possibility of going 0-16, as bad as they are, they do not feel to me like a team that is that bad that they go 0-16, right? There are 2 teams in the history of the NFL that have gone winless throughout a regular season, 16 games in the regular season, those being the 2008 Detroit Lions and the Cleveland Browns more recently in 2016. And those teams, when you look at them top to bottom, were awful. And the Lions had no semblance of a quarterback situation. They end up drafting Matthew Stafford the year after. Dan Orlovsky was pretty famous now with ESPN for just running through the back of the end zone in that safety in that season. And the Browns ended up starting DeShone Kizer, who was a second-round pick, clearly a project, and he just ended up starting that whole year. This is a guy who's been a career backup in the years following that, since they have moved on now to Baker Mayfield, but had moved on even before he got there. And the Jets don't feel that way to me, as badly as they have played. I think Sam Darnold is certainly a much better quarterback than either of those 2 teams and what they ran out there in those weird seasons. And that, to me, can make a huge difference. And I'm not here, and we'll get into Darnold in a second, because he's the other part of this, and now to the Trevor Lawrence conversation, and what do they want to do there, and what are we seeing from Darnold right now in particularly concerned with him and reacting to the blitz and how he's reading some of the things that you'd hope he'd have a better handle on in year 3 and how that goes into coaching. But I do feel like there's enough on this roster, Mekhi Becton and some of their offensive line pieces, and not that they have good receivers by any stretch of the imagination, but when you look at Denzel Mims and Rashad Perriman, and Jamison Crowder, they're not awful. Like, they're not scrubs to the point where they have nothing. And I know that their defense in particular is a work in progress and there's not much there, but you feel like at some point, and maybe it's going to come down to the coaching that's been so bad, and that could be the explanation for why it's been such a struggle so far this year. And maybe they'll just get out coached in every game. But roster wise, as bad as they are, and Joe Douglas deserves his share of blame for that, they don't feel to me like an all-time historically bad roster as bad as they are.
No, because they're not. They just aren't on paper. You're talking about a quarterback who's a top 5 pick in the NFL draft. And I know that doesn't mean much. We've had plenty that have been drafted that high and haven't produced. But you can't deny the raw talent. You cannot deny it. I mean, this was the quarterback at the top of a lot of teams' draft boards that year. And here we are, and you mentioned the coaching, and it always comes back to the coaching with this team, because that's what it is. It is a failure of coaching. It's a failure of culture. It's a failure of motivation week in and week out. It's the only thing you can point to. It's intangible, but you know that there's something on that Jet team, because that Jet team won 7 games last year. And it's not the same team, but a lot went wrong. A lot has gone wrong since Adam Gase has arrived. And we're at a point where anything that was good there has been stripped away and is gone, absolutely gone. And so he needs to be removed. It's inexcusable that that easy first step hasn't been taken, because that is the easy first step. The only justification for it is that you want to lose games. And that theory, by the way, is supported by a lot more than the fact that Adam Gase is still there. It's supported by the fact that you're trading Avery Williamson for nothing, for a couple of footballs. It's supported by the fact that you're letting Le'Veon Bell go. So, and of course, Jamal Adams before all of this started. So this is an 0-8 team that doesn't need to be 0-8, absolutely doesn't, and absolutely doesn't need to be 0-16. Completely agree with you. So, how do you fix it? You get rid of the head coach. I've said it 100 times. I'm tired of it. I'm just tired of it.